Hey everybody, welcome to the Benjamin Show, where we discuss anything about literature. I'm your host, Ben Nye. Today we'll be talking about the Shakespearean play Hamlet. Now, Hamlet was written around 1599 to 1601 and has become one of the most well-known plays ever to be written. Here's a very quick summary of this play. Hamlet's father, the king, had died, and Hamlet had become very depressed. However, his father came to Hamlet as a ghost and told him that the king's brother, Claudius, was the one who committed the murder and death of Hamlet's father. Thus, Hamlet wanted to seek revenge and kill Claudius to avenge the murder of his father. However, Claudius also wanted to kill Hamlet because he figured that he knew that Hamlet was enlightened with the reality of his father's death. Ultimately, Hamlet was poisoned by Claudius and was dying, but he managed to kill Claudius before he expired. Now, keep in mind that this is a very shortened summary, and there are many other characters and plots within the story. However, it mainly focuses on Hamlet and his feelings. Throughout the whole play, Hamlet suffered from severe depression and pain from his father's death. He also talked about it very openly and detailed. This is just one soliloquy that describes Hamlet's thoughts and dreams and feelings quite well, and this is his to be or not to be speech. To be or not to be, that is the question. Whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. To die, to sleep, no more, and by sleep we say end. The headache and the thousand natural shocks that flesh is heir to. 'Tis a consummation devoutly to be wished, to die, to sleep, perchance to dream, aye, there's the rub. For in that sleep of death what dreams may come, when we have shuttled off this mortal coil, must give us pause. There's a respect that makes calamity of so long life. For who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quittus make with a bare bodkin? Who would fardels bear, to grunt and sweat under a weary life? But that the dread of something after death, the undiscovered country for whose bourne no traveller returns, puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. Thus conscience makes us cowards of us all. And thus the native hue of resolution is sickled o'er the pale cast of thought, and enterprises of great pith and moment would disregard their current stern auri, and lose the name of action. Soft, you know, the fair Ophelia, nymph, in thy orisons be all my sins remembered. Okay, so that is a lot of stuff coming at us at once, so I'm going to try to break it down so we can understand it a little better. In the first little phrase, to be or not to be, that is a question, whether 'tis nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or to take arms against a sea of troubles, and by opposing end them. That basically explains that Hamlet is contemplating death. He's asking, should I live or should I die? Is it more noble to suffer the things of this world or to just end them by killing myself? And in the next line, and the others, he mentions to die, to sleep. Here he is referring to death like sleeping. In this case, it is desirable. It's a perfect closure. Sleeping takes you away from the pains and troubles of this life, in which case dying does the same. He says there is a rub, though. That's basically saying that death could be worse than life. What comes after death could cause greater pain than that of earth. Now, it's very much possible that Shakespeare is saying that Hamlet is referring to hell in this case. And after that, Hamlet goes on this long monologue saying, for who would bear the whips and scorns of time, the oppressor's wrong, the proud man's contumely, the pangs of despised love, the law's delay, the insolence of office, and the spurns that patient merit the unworthy takes, when he himself might his quittus make with a bare bodkin? Who would fardels bear, to grunt and sweat under a wearied life, but that the dread of something after death, The undiscovered country for whose bourne no traveler returns puzzles the will, and makes us rather bear those ills we have than fly to others that we know not of. So there, Hamlet asks why people would want to put up with certain things in their lives, knowing that they're going to cause them pain. So some examples that he mentions were putting up with abuse from superiors, insults from arrogant people, the pangs of love not being returned, the problems with legal systems, and there's a few others. Hamlet then goes on and says that fear makes us all cowards, and if we think too much, we will become weak. He also says that what we plan on doing somehow gets misdirected and never happens. And that's when Ophelia comes in and Hamlet stops talking about his death and his trouble and says, "Soft me now, the fair Ophelia, nymph, in thy orisons be all my sins remembered." Which basically there he's saying, "Oh, you pretty woman, remember me when you pray." Now that could be taken two ways, like remember me when I'm gone, or just remember me in your prayers to help me mentally. So there you go, just a very quick and easy breakdown of one of the more important passages from the play. Hopefully this helped you understand a little bit more about Hamlet and what was going on through his head. And that's just about all the time we got, and I'll see you next later.